on that type of work. So then I started to serve my time as an electrician.
In Lewisburg?
No. Here in Westport.
Oh, did you serve your time too at that time?
Clark's in Westport. We did quite a lot of electrical work at that particular time, the electrical contracting. But it was mostly, while we did a number of bigger jobs, which we called bigger jobs at the time, like hotels and while we also were involved in sort of old houses. A lot of there was rural electrification was in Connemara and in Kilmena and in a few other places around West. So we had a lot of rural electrification, and there were a lot of the big old houses as well. You know, the old.
So you were wiring the houses, yeah?
Wiring, yes.
And what were they using prior to that?
What they were using the old, what they used to call the Iron Horse. It was a 32-volt system, and then some of them had generators. We did a lot of conversion from generators over to ESB when ESB came. And some of them were using just Tilly lamps, ordinary eye lamps.
And when did they go to fashion or out of vogue? Or?
Well, they went to, I'd say by the end of the 50s now, most of them were gone. The early 60s, yeah, the end of the 50s, I'm sure.
Because that rural electrification was a big thing at the time, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. See, it started about 1926, but when the Channel scheme was introduced, the towns got electrical power long before the rural. But then the rural scheme started. I think rural electrification started in about 48, 49, those years. In actual fact, there was a very, very nice book written about it called The Quiet Revolution, because it was a revolution in those days, because the farmyards were, you know, milking machines were introduced, grain crushers were introduced for crushing grain in the farmers, and most of all water pumps for pumping water. And the motto at the time was, why walk when water will run?
Was there a bit of opposition to it here and there about electrification? Well,
I suppose you have to understand that at that time there were very little bills coming to any household. And there was the rent bills and the rate bills, and they didn't want to be kind of saddled with another bill, a standing charge for electricity. A lot of people from that point of view, because in the 40s, early 50s, of course, Ireland was very, very poor, as you understand, and some were very progressive, and of course, immediately it was introduced, they signed up, but some were quite reluctant, and some were also afraid of electricity. You know, there was a lot of thatched houses at that particular time. You don't see much in the country now, but there wasn't, and they were afraid to get electricity installed. You know, they had different views of it.
They didn't understand the technology of it.
They didn't understand the technology of it, no.
Yeah, it was very interesting, wasn't
it? Yeah. I suppose it was, but one thing that I remember very, very clearly from it was the generosity of the people when you went to wire the house for them. They always produced food. When the electricians were coming to wire the house, they were sure they had meals prepared for them and all that. It was.
And they didn't have to do that?
No. But they did, just out of generosity.